Arne Bore. You are a business developer, director of business development for Conexus, which is a cutting-edge Norwegian education software programming company, which we are on the edge of collaborating with. And could you please talk about the work you are doing and how partnership and collaboration is your way of keeping up with that programming?
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming here. I'm sure we all share this vision of education for all, regardless of the social status, regardless of the economy of the countries you're working with, and so on. For us, as a medium-sized company based in the neighboring town of Drammen in Vietnam and in Singapore, it is, of course, we see that we can do something very well. We have the technology competence, we have the educational competence, but we need the partnership to make an impact. To make a real impact, we need to work through different organizations and so on. And I will talk a little bit about how important this impact is, because we see that digitalization is a part of this, to solving this vision. We see that the last years we have seen a tremendous gain in what we can do, and we also see a tremendous gain in the distribution power that the mobile telephone are giving us and other digital equipment. There are now more children that has access to a mobile telephone than to education, for instance. So we see that there are large possibilities here, but it's not easy to solve the task, not only in the Norwegian school system, well-funded, well-equipped and all that, but also in areas of the world where this is really a problem. But we see that the digitalization and the mobile use and so on is a faster, has a more impact, and can also more or less at the same price or cheaper than what we see we can achieve with the traditional way of developing an educational system. So it's very exciting. We all heard Mr. Green yesterday told us about education being the central building blocks of creating social progress. So how do we get there? Well, for us, the partnerships are very important. And I'll talk about 4 or 5 different kind of partnership. One is, of course, with the NGO. We must never forget the NGO as a central part of developing good solutions in countries where you not necessarily have all the structure on the place. So we are hope to create a good partnership with Partnership for Change in Myanmar to help be a part of the solution, both for providing vocational training through mobile telephones systems, but also in the regular school system by increasing the distribution to both increase the capacity of the teachers and the distribution of learning equipment, and to give the right learning resources at the right time for the right students. It's a huge task, but we think it can be done. But when we do it, it must be done with resources on the ground, with organization that knows what's really going on, and you need to do it with iteration, to develop it together with the local communities to find good solutions. You cannot dump equipment and think magic will happen, as UNESCO pointed out in one of their review on the areas. So that's the NGO. In the neighboring country of Bangladesh, we are also very excited. We hope to create together with Telenor a good solution to use their mobile distribution power to give educational resources to solve the large problem they have with illiteracy. It's the largest illiteracy rate in Asia. We hope to find a solution that we could be a part of. We are here this week with our CEO, with Telenor CEO and the Ministry of Education in Bangladesh. But the large corporations are, of course, a tremendous partner in solving these visions and other problems we see, but because they have the power to leverage, they have the power to really make an impact. And you can say, of course, they do not only do this as a part of a social responsibility corporation, they do it because it has economic value. When the main point of income in a country is people reading from the mobile phone and people can't read, of course you want people to learn to read. But as we also was told by Mr. Green yesterday, there is a strong link between the social progress and the economic progress, as long, of course, as this is sustainable. So the corporate partnership, as we also have seen some very good example of here, is an important part of solving this vision. But then again, of course, it's the government. The education is a central part of the government, together with health and, unfortunately, the military and the all the other things, but it's one of the central blocks that the government. You cannot go around it, you cannot forget it, you cannot do anything without it, and it's a good part. We have some very good experiences with creating partnership and cooperation with the government. We have 3 systems in Norway that are both cutting edge in an international sense, and that has a lot. Most of the school students in Norway are using those, or are a part of those systems. We have created it at the national level with the Directorate for Education by creating one of the largest school environment assessment in the world, and we see how important it is. And it had not been possible without the Directorate for Education taking the chance of working with a then rather small company in Drammen. Actually, the idea for that assessment was inspired by the then Prime Minister Kjell Magne Bondevik, who you saw yesterday as a board member of PfC, who had his strong campaign against bullying in school. So by thinking, what can we do about bullying? They started this process, and it ended up with a large-scale assessment giving 500,000 students the possibilities to tell how are they coping at school. It's a very important progress. That's cooperation with the government. We have done it at a regional level by creating a system for quality enhancement and learning analytics, and we have done it at a local community level by going together with the 10 largest cities in Norway to create a system that made it possible to do personal learning and collect all kinds of assessment and follow up for the teachers, for the students. It would not have been possible without the partnership between the local governments and us as a technology and education provider. So that's the 3, that's the NGO, that's the large corporation, and the government at different levels. And then I'm very glad to see that we have the scientific community here represented by the Science Council, because we see that when we create solution, it has to be based on the expertise of what we know. You will be surprised to see how many solutions, and also in the educational area, that is based on goodwill or some thinking about maybe this works, but it's not necessarily based on evidence. You need to have the strong cooperation, and we are very proud that when we now are releasing a system for increasing the key capacity of teachers to improve the teaching. It is a system we provide together with 4 of the leading experts in the world, and they found it interesting, they share our values, so suddenly we are working with people that we only have read about for several years, because there are some possibilities to create system now. It's a kind of open space, a blue ocean for talking in economical terms, to create good systems. And the scientists are more eager to do this participation, I think, than earlier, and that's a good thing. But there's another part of this. We need to cooperate with the research community, and as a representative from the Research Council say, we need more insight into how to do these processes the right way, how to best do both the research, but also to create solutions that are both corporate and socially responsible. And of course, we are glad that the Norwegian government have pointed out this as an important area, because we think we need more evidence-based knowledge of this area. So there are 4 or 5, how you count them, different challenges. We heard, of course, all yesterday, Robert Swan tell us about how hard it is to both scale and be in Antarctica, and how challenging it is, and so on. I've seen 3 people I know that has been both to the South Pole, the North Pole, and to the highest peaks in the world. And of course, they tell us about challenges much more cold, of course, than the challenging of doing this, finding solutions to these visions. It's more isolated, you're more alone. But when it comes to the risk, and you should not underestimate the risk of being in Antarctica, of course, I think the risk of not changing the education system, the risk of not doing the right solution when it comes to educate the children of the world, of course, the risk of doing that wrong is much, much stronger than what you ever will meet for consequences for the world by being in Antarctica. So that was a little bit about our vision and about the partnership we think is essential to get there.
Thank you very much.